Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Maddie here today with a Bethesda Game Studios news update, one that's both surprising and completely unexpected. So, little story time. I'm sitting there eating my lunch and I find out that Todd Howard will be doing an interview at DICE 2016, which is basically a gaming convention where the greatest minds in gaming all arrive and do interviews and stuff, and it's really exciting. And they usually just talk about their passion for games, kind of what they do for development process. But Todd Howard sat down and, to my surprise, gave us some details on what Bethesda Game Studios is working on now that Fallout 4 is out. He obviously talked about the DLC being announced, as well as an overhaul of the survival mode in Fallout 4. That's the old news. But what's interesting is the following quote that I got from GameInformer.com. We actually have three kind of longer term projects we're doing that are all, we'll talk about them at a much future date, but they're different than anything we've done before, while also being a Bethesda style game, big and crazy, in many ways different than things we've done before. So this quote offers all types of juicy details. The reason for that is because, number one, three long-term projects. I think it's safe to assume that one of these is Elder Scrolls 6, but the interesting part is the specification that they are the same style of game, big and crazy, and we all know Bethesda likes to make the big open world games, the RPGs, so we probably can safely assume that, but also in many ways different than things they've done before. What in the world could that be? So I kind of tried to pump out some ideas, and some of these are out of left field, some of these are accurate, so do not hold me accountable. But for me personally, three longer term projects. Bethesda is a team of about over 100 people. You include the Montreal studio, right? Wrong. The reason I'm not including them for this video is because of the fact that during this very same interview, Todd Howard confirmed that they are working on mainly mobile gaming and, quote, other stuff. Now, that other stuff could be some of these projects, but he specifically said that they're focusing on mobile gaming, which makes sense with the success of Fallout Shelter. You should probably make a company that's going to essentially print you money. Anyway, we're going to focus on Bethesda Game Studios and basically say that they are a small team now working on three projects. So when I thought of that, I'm like, okay, let's think indie games in a sense. I look at a game like Child of Light, for example. Ubisoft is a giant company who makes big AAA games, but they also made a tiny, more concise RPG experience like Child of Light that got great reviews and, in my opinion, was a great video game. This is a type of game that comes to mind when he says these are the long-term projects. This is a game that takes a while to make, that we're putting a lot of time into, but it's also different from what they've done. It may not run up your game clock 80 hours. It may be a more concise 15 to 20 hours, which is still obviously worth your money. But what I'm saying is that's something that I can really imagine them kind of going for, is the smaller experience. He said in the interview that they're busier than they've ever been before, but three longer term projects, I can only think of a few things. Obviously, Elder Scrolls 6 should be in the talks for this type of long-term project, right? On top of that, perhaps finally the new IP. They said specifically that one of them is something they've really never done before, and this one could be that brand new IP. It most certainly, in the context of his sentence, hints at that. But they're talking about it at a much future date, which is another thing I want to break down in this quote. And I don't mean to hyper-analyze everything he has to say, but you know me, I'm Mr. In-depth analysis, all right? I got to break it down and so my brain can process it all. But a much future date. So these are way out, most likely just started recently in the past year or so. It seems Bethesda is trying to ramp it up a lot. What's exciting about this, though, is that three long-term projects. Could we see one at E3? There's absolutely that chance. Is it a guarantee? Definitely not, because they said a much future date, but 4 months could be a much future date. You all know that Bethesda said it won't be a while until we talk about Fallout 4, and then a month or two later, boom, there it is. Fallout 4 surprisingly announced. So Bethesda's not really that great with time. I think much future date is a placeholder for we'll talk about it when we're ready, which we all completely should understand. But nonetheless, a big and crazy Bethesda-style game, three long-term projects. I can tell this is going to be a good run for my channel, because more Bethesda Game Studios to me just sounds amazing. That's what we've wanted. We don't want them to lose that quality. This is going to be a real test for Bethesda Game Studios, in my opinion, that they're going to start making more games, because you can tell as time goes on, Bethesda is trying to be a leader now in this industry. We used to praise them for making great games, and that's kind of it. But now, with them upping their publishing game with games like Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, Doom looking fantastic, Dishonored, these are all great games that Bethesda is publishing. And then on top of that, they're developing great games, and now they're trying to do more. E3 conference, probably going to be a bunch of published games there. hey, Bethesda Game Studios, they love your games. Make more. Get what I'm saying now? I hope this doesn't really transform the company. It doesn't seem to be, but I have to say that I really like what I'm seeing, and it's super exciting to hear that they're working on not one, like they usually do. There are one game studio since about 2002 with Morrowind, or 2003 is when it released. No, they are working on 3 long-term projects. So if I'm you guys, I'd be really excited, because I certainly am, and I wanted to spread this information because I only saw a couple thousand people were watching the stream, so not really a lot of people caught on to this information, so I wanted to share it with you guys and get your thoughts in the comments down below, so please share them with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm dying to know what you think. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description. Check out SugarBomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.